Hey gorgeous souls, hope you're having a great day, and I'm jumping in with today's live video on how to experience greater happiness in your life each day. I was reading a post yesterday, and it's by a person that I absolutely love and adore, and in that post she actually mentioned that a lot of people actually feel really, really triggered when they hear the statement or the word, you get to choose happiness. And I kind of want to debunk this a little bit because when you abdicate or you decide not to choose what it is that you do desire, you're actually disabling your own personal responsibility, your own personal power. Now, please hear, this is not blame. This is not saying that you should be feeling a particular way or you shouldn't be feeling a particular way or any of those things. But when we feel powerless in a situation, meaning we don't feel at choice or that we have a choice, we actually render ourselves powerless and we dismiss or we deny our personal responsibility. And your responsibility is your ability to respond to your life circumstances. Now, we are not taught how to regulate ourselves. We are not taught how to regulate our own emotional response. Well, certainly I wasn't as a child, and I'm certain that majority of people could agree with that. We're not actually taught the skills of emotional regulation, of how to question our painful thoughts and beliefs. And happiness is actually created through your own personal recipe. And again, you wouldn't be yelling at a child if they were trying to make a cake and they didn't follow the recipe, or they didn't even have a recipe, or they didn't even know that they needed a recipe. Then you wouldn't be yelling at that child when the cake turned out kind of probably a little bit different to a cake. And this is exactly the same as what you're expecting perhaps from yourself if you don't know the formula or how to kind of create happiness for yourself. And there are patterns of thought. I've studied this for myself over 11, 12 years now. And, again, we're all so human. And I even had an experience on the weekend where I wasn't feeling happy with myself and I was beating myself up and going into some old patterns again. But with awareness and with understanding, what is it that I desire? What is it that I truly want to create? Or what do I want instead of this experience of me beating myself up? They're powerful questions to ask to take back that personal response ability to be able to respond to the circumstance or to the thoughts that are creating painful situations. Now, I'm not going to dismiss for a moment that there is hard stuff that happens in life. And now more than ever before, there is a lot of stuff that's happening. A lot of, trauma is being resurfaced for a lot of people. Not to mention, just a whole bunch of really, really challenging things. But even not in these current times, there are times in our life where a loved one may pass, or where, our financial situation may change, or we may go through a relationship breakup. So there are times that are very, very difficult in life. And the first step to happiness is absolutely accepting where you currently are. Again, this is like having a roadmap, and if you deny where you are or if you dismissive of where you are, then how do you get to where it is that you want to go? Because if you don't know where you are on that map, you can't make the decisions, you can't actually understand, and you could spend a whole lot of time going in the opposite direction to where it is that you truly want to go, simply because you're not accepting where you actually currently are. So acceptance absolutely is the number one key, accepting where you're currently at, how you currently feel, and not beating yourself up for that. Please hear, responsibility and blame are two totally different things. When we take responsibility for our life, it is the ability to be able to respond to our life circumstances. And I fully understand, I fully respect that there is stuff that happens that sometimes is absolutely way out of our own personal control, that we can't control a particular situation or circumstance. I'm not going to go into law of attraction or anything else around that at the moment, but it is important to recognize, yes, there is stuff that happens. Now, if you believe that somebody else is to blame for the way you feel, or for you continuing to feel unhappy in your life, or you're blaming that situation, you're blaming that circumstance, or worse, you're also blaming yourself, feeling that you're wrong, you're bad, that you should have had your stuff together more, or any of that stuff, it again abdicates completely your ability to take personal responsibility. Taking responsibility, like I mentioned, is the ability to be able to respond to a circumstance. Now, the second thing that is really important to understand in order to change or to experience greater happiness in your life is, what are your current rules? Like, how do you believe that you need to be? A huge driver of shame is actually having ridiculously high standards that you are unable to meet on a regular basis, meaning that you may experience shame often or all the time if you have unmeetable rules. Some of those unmeetable rules might be, I need to always be loving and kind. Now, that's just not a realistic thing. Yes, it's something that you can aim for, or something that you'd like to expand on to come back to love and everything else. But the truth is, the reality is that you're going to experience many other different emotions other than feeling loving and kind. Therefore, anytime that you experience those emotions, you may experience shame. If you have a belief or a rule that means that you can't feel enough, or you feel bad, or you feel wrong as a person when you have that belief. I should be doing more. I should get more done in a day. Well, how is that actually a possibility? How do you actually get more done in a day than what you've got done in a day? Again, it's fighting reality. That doesn't mean that we can't upgrade our skills of productivity or upgrade, our planning and everything else. But there's a very different emotion attached to that. It's like, let me learn this. How can I grow from this situation? Rather than coming from that fear, I'm not enough if I continually fail to meet my to-do list, or I make it so unreasonable every single day. And that was a pattern I certainly had for myself. Was writing down this massive list that was literally 2 or 3 days worth of work, beating myself up at the end of every single day because I didn't get through it. Now, no human on the planet would have been able to do that. So again, what are the rules that you're creating? What are the beliefs that you're holding? Or what is the narrative, the story that you tell yourself about yourself? All of these things absolutely will impair your ability to take personal responsibility, so your ability to be able to respond to the situation or circumstance, but also absolutely impact the way that you feel. What you're focusing on every single day. Are you focusing on what's going well, what's going right, or what you can do to change that situation? Or are you focusing on everything that's going wrong? And certainly as a human being, we can tend to stack when things aren't working out, or when things are not going well. So, oh my gosh, this is happening, and then this is happening, and this is happening, and then this is happening, and oh my gosh, and this is really bad as well. And so we tend to stack, and that stacks our emotional state as well, which actually massively impacts our own level of happiness. And like I said, it is remembering that happiness, your own personal happiness, yes, there's kind of some guidelines or fundamentals to that. You cannot focus on what's going wrong. You cannot focus on everything you hate about yourself, and you cannot focus on in experiencing, eating bad food, not sleeping well, not taking good care of yourself, and actually feel, happy. There are very specific things that people do that experience greater levels of happiness, greater levels of fulfillment, and I also understand that high-level trauma also can massively impact how we actually feel about ourselves. And trauma is not necessarily the event that occurs, but it's what we do to ourselves internally when that event occurs. Meaning, what do we make that actually mean about ourselves when that trauma or that event has occurred? And this is what we really need to challenge within ourselves, lovingly and very, very compassionately and very gently, to really recognize, what did I make that mean when I experienced that event, when I experienced that trauma? What did I actually make that mean about myself? And is that actually really, really true? And as with anything in life, anything you believe, you will look for and find the evidence for. And this is why often, if we're not feeling happy, we can find plenty of evidence as to what's wrong with us, what's bad with us, what's, needs to change about ourselves, how we're failing, how we're not enough, all of those things. Just as when we switch our focus quite deliberately towards, I choose happiness, I choose to embrace my own empowerment, what do I want instead? And then we start to focus on, well, what is feeling better for me, or what do I want, or what is working for me, what is going well. All of those things are so, so vitally important in order to step back into your own power and to take personal responsibility for yourself. And like I said, your own personal happiness is an art. It is your own personal recipe filled up of things that you love to do, filled up with you valuing yourself, recognizing your own magnificence, recognizing that you already are enough, there is nothing to prove, recognizing your own ability to be able to create life in the way that you're wanting to. And if you're not able to do that, it doesn't make you wrong, bad, or anything else. It is literally stepping back into your own power and saying, let me get the skills, let me find out how I can actually create this for myself, or how can I change this situation for myself. Because whilst life will bring you whatever it brings you, your ability to be able to respond to life and make it mean whatever it is that you're choosing to make it mean, and doing that very, very consciously, because often that's an unconscious process. But when you start choosing to do that consciously, then you truly get to shape how you experience life. What is the lenses, the filters, the beliefs that I'm perceiving life through? Because that is our experience of life, and it is our absolute personal responsibility. You're not to blame. You're not a cause. If life has brought you some really challenging events, often life will bring us those events to help us to grow and to actually step into who we're meant to be from that particular soul level. So it's important to remember to not beat ourselves up. Often we weren't taught the skills, or we weren't taught the strategies in order to be able to come back to loving ourselves, to valuing ourselves, and to changing our imprinting and conditioning from our childhood messages that we received from adults around us, or from particular situations or circumstances. So I hope that's really been helpful for you. Understand that your happiness is absolutely your personal choice, and not beating yourself up, not making you wrong in this moment. If you are not experiencing happiness, just know it is a recipe. Know that there is those stages, like I mentioned, of really understanding, accepting where we're currently at, understanding what you're focusing on, and is that bringing you happiness or not, understanding to choose what it is that you do want to create for yourself moving forward, and getting the skills and the ability, the tools, the strategies to learn emotional regulation. Because like I said, we are not taught this at school, and you wouldn't yell at a 5-year-old child if they didn't know how to tie up their shoelaces. You wouldn't be saying that they're not enough, or they've failed in life in some way, shape or form. You would be lovingly guiding that child, teaching them how to tie their shoelaces, or how to bake the cake, and give them the recipe. Find out what the recipe is, research the recipe, so that you actually have the skills and the tools to guide yourself back to greater levels of happiness. But without choosing happiness, we render ourselves powerless to our emotional state and to the life that we're currently living. And if that is not what you want, you actually absolutely have the power. It's not that something's wrong with you. It's not that you're failing. It's just you actually haven't developed the skills or got the skills. And I know what that was like. I lived life like that until I was 32. And then I started developing those skills, and I've spent the last 12 years really understanding those skills more and more. So if you are looking to get greater skills in emotional regulation, to come back to owning your own power, to knowing how you can put yourself at greater and greater choice of what it is that you choose to create in your life, by challenging those limiting beliefs and stories of how you may feel that you're not enough, or you failed in some way, or you're not successful enough, or you're not capable enough, or you can't do it, or any of those other stories that we all tell ourselves. And I could put my hand up a million times in the air. by challenging those beliefs, those stories, you get to set yourself free. And that is exactly what I deal with in my Know Your Worth course. It's a 5-day course, not that it takes 5 days to complete it, but it's literally 45 minutes training once over each day for the 5 days, and will give you on each day a particular skill and strategy and tool that you can take with you and implement from a lifelong perspective to create greater happiness, to understand fundamentally what are the painful thoughts that are creating and generating unhappiness and making you actually feel like you're a failure, or that you're not enough, or that you're doing it wrong in some way, shape or form. And what I noticed was most interesting with this particular post was when people do feel that they're not enough, or that they're doing it wrong, or they've failed, or they're scared, or they're terrified in some way, shape or form, it's these patterns that they're responding to, meaning it's their response to or reaction to that statement that you get to choose happiness that is actually perpetuating the unhappiness in their life. And by not addressing those things, we continue the same patterns, and we continue to feel like we're failing or we're not enough. And honest to God, like I can say from the bottom of my heart, I know what that feels like. I lived it for so many years of my life, and I'm still very human. I still have moments and experiences of that. And now I actually have the ability to turn those things around, where it's not a lifelong story. It's a moment, 5-10 minutes. It might be an hour or two, depending on what's coming up for me. But being able to change that and not live in the pain of that story for months on end, which is what my previous experience was when I didn't know the skills and the tools. So if you're interested, please reach out. If you've got any particular questions about the course, it is only $27 right now. I'll pop the link below for you so that you can jump in, have a look. And if you feel called to really get these skills and strategies, it will absolutely change your life if you choose to apply this on a daily basis. And happiness is a choice on a daily basis. We're choosing what to focus on. We're choosing our self-talk. We're choosing, what we're doing with our physical body, meaning what we put into our body, how well we take care of our body, how we go to sleep, all of those things. And by negating that choice, you render yourself powerless to stay stuck in the situation that you're in. And if that's not pleasant, I urge you to take personal responsibility for your life and for your own personal happiness. You are so worth it. You're so deserving of it. And life truly can change for you. I promise, from the bottom of my heart, from somebody that changed my life entirely. So sending you so much love. Have an amazing day. Bye for now.